Hey innovators! Today we have a really fun project. Using only paper, a little bit of tape and some scissors, and a marble of course, we're going to create paper marble runs. And we're going to explore Newton's first law of motion. When an object is stationary, there are forces that will make it either move or stay in place. So, let's check out our materials and let's find out why those balls were rolling off of my table. So let's go over the materials that you'll need for your marble run. You're going to need some paper. You're going to need a good pair of scissors. You're also going to need some tape or a stapler. So for my demo, I'm mostly going to be using a stapler, but a good roll of tape will come in super handy. And last but not least, you're going to need a marble. All right, now as you construct, you can experiment with other materials, but these are going to be the most important ones that you'll use to construct the marble run. Innovators, so what does a marble run look like? Our paper marble roller coaster is constructed out of paper, cardstock. You can get really creative and use other type of paper materials, or you can experiment even with cardboard. But the idea being is that you're going to create a frame that's comprised of these two cubes. You can make it taller if you'd like by adding a third cube. This frame is going to house all these different tracks that you're creating out of paper. Those little tracks are going to allow the marble to go down the coaster. It's all being pulled by gravity as the marble races down your marble roller coaster. So let's take a look at how we're going to use those materials and the techniques that I'm teaching you to construct this marble roller coaster. All right, so innovators, the first step is taking your paper, and we're going to have to prepare it. We're going to need to cut it into small strips that are going to be about 2 inches wide, okay? And they could be the full length of a regular sheet of paper. Now, you're going to want all of your strips to be equal. So one suggestion I have is that you take several sheets of paper. And again, you could be working with cardstock if you prefer. And that you cut them all at the same time so that you have uniform strips of paper. Okay? Now, I'm going to cut them like so. Perfect. And now you'll have several strips of paper. Now that's all you're going to need to do in order to prepare the materials, but you're going to need lots of strips of paper. So my suggestion is cutting out a lot of them ahead of time. The last trick that I'll show you is if you really want to make your strips uniform is to measure them out. So let me take a new piece of paper, right? And you want them to be about 2 inches apart. So I'll just make little markings here every 2 inches. That looks good. And I'll do the same thing along the top. 2, 2, 2. All right. And now I'll just connect the dots like so. Now remember, in order to make things a little bit faster, you'll want to take another sheet of paper or 2, and you're going to want to cut them together. Now, the more uniform they are, the easier it'll be to construct. But if you have a good eye and you can cut them without making guidelines, then go right ahead. Perfect. Now, let's get to work. Now that we have all of our strips of paper, we have to prepare them. In order to do that, we're going to need to fold each strip of paper long ways. One way that I'm doing that is by taking a straight edge, a ruler in my case, and it's going to help me just bend it right down the middle. You'll need to do that with all of your strips. What you want is to have this nice L shape. All right, so let's do that to a few more. And just fold them. Another technique I have, in case you don't have a ruler, is to take your strip and starting right in the middle, like so, you'll fold the middle to the other side. You'll make sure those two sides are touching, and then you can just crease the rest of the strip. Okay, so let's do that to all of our strips of paper, and then we'll move on. Now, innovators, the first step in constructing the paper marble run is creating a cube using strips of paper. You're going to stack a couple of these cubes, and these are going to form the frame for your roller coaster. You'll be attaching tracks to it. So let's get our paper ready, and let's build our first cube. Now, as I demonstrated, our marble run is going to consist of cubes made out of paper. So the first thing that we're going to do is construct those cubes. Those are going to be the support structures that hold all of the different rails and pathways for your marble run. So in order to do that, you're going to start with two pieces of paper, two strips of paper. They've already been folded down the middle. And you are going to unite them like so. Just lay one on top of the other. Okay, make sure that it's a nice 90-degree angle, like so. Okay, now, depending on what you're using, you can either use tape or a stapler. You're going to want to staple these together or tape them together. Okay, like so. So that you get a nice 90-degree angle. Now, you're going to make one more of these L shapes. And we'll do the same thing. Perfect. Now, you should have two L shapes ready. You're going to take both of those L shapes and you're going to put them together to form a square frame. And now you'll take your stapler or your tape and you are going to connect those two L shapes like so. All right, and I'll do the same thing to the other side. Now, if you notice, I'm using two staples just to make sure that it's nice and secure. And what you end up with is a frame. Perfect. Okay, now you're going to need to create one more frame. So go ahead, make two more L shapes, put them together to create one more frame, and then we'll look at the next step. Okay, so innovators, you should now have two squares, two frames. We're going to work with one at a time. So you're going to take one frame, and you're also going to need 4 more strips of paper that have been folded already. Okay, we'll use one at a time. So we'll take our frame, and you're going to take it by the corner, and you're going to slip one of the other strips of paper and connect it right on that corner, so that you have 3 pieces of paper sticking out. Okay? So, I'll show you again. Here's your frame. Here's the corner of your frame. You're going to take your strip of paper, place it in the corner, and then you'll secure it with some tape or some scissors. Like this. I'll do the same thing on this side. Great. And that's what it should look like. Now, I'm going to do the same thing to all of the other corners so that you have 4 pieces of paper sticking up, and then we'll take a look at it from a different angle. All right, innovators, so if you've been following my instructions up to this point, you should have a structure that looks like this, right? You have your frame, and you have 4 support columns that have all been attached with tape or a stapler. Now, in order to complete the cube, we're going to take the other frame that we created, and we're going to rest it right on top, making sure that the columns go inside. They get tucked inside of the frame. So we'll do that on all 4 sides, like so. It's looking really nice. Okay, now we're going to take our stapler or tape, and you are going to secure those columns to the top frame. Now, make sure that you are either applying enough tape or enough staples to secure it. For the sake of this demo, I'm going to quickly just put a couple of staples right here. Okay, and this is what you should get. A really nice paper cube that has some strength to it, okay? Now, in order to make your marble run, you're gonna need 2 of these cubes. So, grab some paper strips, fold them, start putting them together. Let's get to work. All right, innovators. I now have 2 cubes. I am going to stack 1 cube on top of the other, like this, and I'm gonna take out my tape, and I'm gonna slowly start securing it on all sides, just by placing a little bit of tape between the 2 cubes. I would suggest you just use little strips of tape all around, as opposed to using a whole lot of tape and wasting your material. So, let's construct this and secure it, and now we can start to connect all of the rails that are going to complete our marble roller coaster. Now, let's take a closer look at how we're going to connect our 2 cubes. On the inside, I'm going to take a small strip of tape, like so, and I'm going to connect the 2 strips at the top and bottom of my cube, and I'm going to do that to each side. Do that over here. And then on the outside of my cube, I'm going to take another small strip, again working with small pieces of tape. Don't want to waste too much of it. I'm just going to place another strip of tape here, connecting my 2 cubes. So now it's connected both on the outside and the inside of the cubes. Perfect. Now let's take a look at how we're going to connect the tracks to our marble run. Now, in order for our marble run to be successful, we're going to want to create tracks, or little channels in which our marble can roll down. Just like that. Let's try it again. But in order for it to work, our tracks need to be at an angle. This allows gravity to take the marble and pull it down the track. So, we're going to take our frame and we're going to start attaching some of the tracks. Now, this is probably the funnest part of the project because it allows you to be really creative. You can attach these tracks many different ways, okay? One of my favorite and the easiest way to attach them is you can either do this with a stapler or with some tape, but you just attach them to the side of your frame, and you're going to take your stapler, in my case. I'll apply a couple of staples, make sure it's at an angle, and I attach it there. Great. Again, another way you can do that is you can achieve the same thing by just taking a little piece of tape and placing it there. Now, one suggestion I have is after you attach each track, you test your marble. Great. Now, we're going to look at how we can make some turns so that your roller coaster can get really wild. So, we would attach it here and then wrap it around. But let's construct that turn before we attach it. You've started to connect the tracks onto your frame. Now you're going to need some turns, right? So we're going to take a strip of paper, and I'm going to show you how you're going to make a nice turn that you can attach to your paper roller coaster. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a Sharpie or a pencil, and I'm going to mark a few places where I want to cut. Now, if you notice, I'm only making a marking on one side of my strip of paper, right from that center crease to the edge, okay? I'm going to then take a pair of scissors, and I'm only going to cut to the center, right where the crease starts. I don't want to cut the strip all the way. Your strip of paper should look like this. It should have all these creases. You can now take that strip and slowly start to tuck it into each other. You'll take your tape or your stapler. You're going to apply some staples. Or if you're using tape, you'll take a small strip of tape, and as you're creating that curve, you'll attach your tape there. Now, if you keep doing that, eventually what you'll end up with is, I'm going to use a strip for this last part. You're going to end up with a nice turn. Now, if we bring back our roller coaster and we take a look where we left off, right? We had our track. You can now attach this right here, like so. And I'll staple it on the other side. Great. We now have this really nice turn that we can attach another track to. Now, innovators, this is going to take a little bit of patience, a lot of innovation, and tons of creativity. As you're working on your roller coaster, you're going to encounter problems. It may not work out the way that you want it to, but that is part of being an innovator and a problem solver. So, I'm going to attach this track to my turn, and then I'll attach it over to this side. And as I mentioned earlier, I suggest that you test often. So we now have a track. I'm going to take my marble. I'm going to start it from the top, and it should go around this nice turn. Awesome. Let's try that again. Great. Okay, now I'm going to keep building. Innovators, I've attached another turn to my marble run, but now I want to attach a really cool feature called a funnel. So we're going to take a regular sheet of paper, and right in the center of it, we're going to make a little circle, just like this. Okay? You'll then take your scissors, and you're going to cut right to that center circle. And when you get to it, you're going to make a small, you're going to cut out a small circle like that. Okay, perfect. Your sheet of paper should look something like this. Okay, now you're going to overlap one side of the sheet of paper onto the other, just slightly. You don't want to overdo it, okay? You can if you want to experiment, but I'm just going to do it slightly so that I have this nice funnel shape. I'll use my stapler to secure the pieces of paper. And now I've created a funnel, and if I roll my marble onto it, It should roll around. Awesome. Now, if the hole in the middle is a little small, you just take your scissors and you make it a little bit bigger. Now let's try that again. Perfect. Okay, so how do we attach this to our marble run? This is where you can get really creative, and we can figure out some fun ways to attach this funnel onto your marble run. So you can either attach it to these side columns. If need be, you can grab another strip of paper, right? Attach it here to the side of the funnel and kind of create an arm, a support for it. I think that's what I'm going to do with this one. So I'll attach one strip of paper to my funnel. I'm then going to take it and I'm going to hang it over on this side of my structure like so. And then I'm going to take another strip of paper and I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Right here. And I think I'm going to attach it maybe up here over the track. Now, innovators, after some minor tweaking and some adjustments and lots of testing and experiment, I finally attached my funnel. I had to add an extra piece of paper for support, and I ended up taping it to this little curve track that I made. So, but if we test it now, it works very nicely. So, innovators, keep working. Add tracks, make turns, include some funnels if you'd like. See what you can come up with. If you're so inclined, you can even create a third cube to make your marble run even taller. That is up to you. So use your imagination and be creative. I'm going to keep working on mine and we'll take a look at my final product. Now, innovators, the really awesome part about this project is that it explores Newton's 3 laws of motion. The first one is, an object will continue to be in motion until there's a force that stops it. Meaning, that ball won't move unless a force pushes it. And it would keep rolling, but there's another force that's at work here, an invisible force, and that is gravity. It's the same force that pulls the ball down. It's also the force that presses it and holds it down against this table. Now, for our marble run, it's a lot of the same principles. As we create different tracks and rails, we have a marble that is being pulled by gravitational force, and it'll continue to roll until it meets some resistance. That's really important as you construct your marble run, that you make sure that your marble has the least amount of resistance as it cruises down as it's being pulled by the gravitational force of the Earth. Pretty interesting stuff, right? All right, our marble run is ready to test. So I'm going to start it up here. I've added quite a few features, a funnel, a bunch of different tracks, and it should end up there at the bottom. So let's test it out. Here we go. 1, 2, innovation. All right. That was a successful run. Very nice. Innovators, so we've constructed an awesome paper marble run or a paper roller coaster in order to explore Newton's laws. This was an awesome project that allows you to be super creative and is a lot of fun. I challenge you all to make the biggest paper roller coaster that you can. So thanks for following along and trying this project out. Remember to always think creatively and to think critically. I'm going to give this one more shot. Go! See you next time.